Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you.
Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm Kathy Colaiacovo, and today we're talking about something that keeps coming up in my conversations with clients and even with some of their marketing teams. It always happens at this time of the year, and it's all about the idea that summer is just slow. That is how it is. And that's what I keep hearing from people. But is it really true? Or is it something we've just heard so often that we don't stop to question it anymore? I want to explore a little bit about why summertime can feel slower for private practice owners, what kind of patterns are actually being seen in some therapy and dietitian businesses out there, and most importantly, what you should be doing if your calendar is in fact quieter than usual, so you can still use this time well. So I hope you're ready to talk all about whether or not the summer slowdown is real, or is it just a convenient excuse? Every year, I start hearing the same kinds of comments. It's just slow right now. No one's booking. Everyone's away. People start taking vacations, so they're not interested in booking sessions. And those things can definitely be true. People do take vacations, schedules shift, kids are home, things get disrupted. But sometimes what feels like a slowdown isn't actually about your clients at all, and it's about you. In some cases, I've often found that maybe the person has pulled back their marketing because they're tired. Maybe they haven't sent out a newsletter in a while. Maybe they've stopped showing up as much because they're assuming no one is going to respond because it is typically this slow time they hear about. So what I really want to start off with on this episode is a gentle yet direct challenge to everybody. Before you decide that business is just slow this summer, I really want you to think about and ask yourself if you have actually stepped back and slowed down as well. Because sometimes what looks like a slowdown in client bookings might actually be a change in your own consistency or visibility because you've slowed down with your marketing. And when we talk about this summertime slowdown, the most important thing is to figure out, is it actually real? The short answer is sometimes it is, in fact, real, but not always, and definitely not for everyone out there. Let's look at therapy practices. This is something I've definitely experienced with my clients, and it's something when I did some research about this episode that I found online. Now, there wasn't hard and steadfast, specific statistical reports. More of it was anecdotal in what I could find online that people were talking about. And from a lot of practice management sources and looking at longtime therapists and looking at how they report what has changed year after year after year, a lot of them do, in fact, see a dip in sessions during the summertime, and especially in August. They do refer to it sometimes as the summer slump, the summer lull, and it is really a widely acknowledged thing across solo and group practices. Now, I do think there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, clients take vacations or have inconsistent schedules during the summertime. Kids are out of school, routines are disrupted, and when that happens, people change their behaviors. When they refer to what's happening in the summertime, some people actually say that their clients have improved mood from the sunshine and the longer days. So sometimes therapy doesn't feel as urgent to them as it might during the rest of the year. And then, of course, there's the issue that happens with every business owner. The therapists themselves are taking time off, which reduces their availability. It's a pattern that summer does bring a slowdown. Now, for dietitians, I found a little less info online. A lot of it was really storytelling, people talking to one another, talking in groups, people reporting things in certain online groups that I'm part of as well. And a lot of my clients all talk about how they see changes in client engagement during the summertime. There's more cancellations a lot of time. There's pushback consults that happen. And there are typically fewer inquiries as well for that long-term support when it comes to running a dietitian business and people looking for the nutrition counseling. But it isn't across the board what I found. Some dietitians, especially people who are working in sports nutrition and sometimes those in fertility or in the digestive health area, they're actually seeing an increased demand during summer. And it really comes down to what is happening with their clients in the summertime and why they're needing some more help. So when we look back at all of it, yes, summertime slowdown can be real for some practices, but it's not inevitable and it's not a given that it happens to everyone. Most likely what is happening is there are other factors that are causing the slowdown. It's not that people don't want to have therapy. It's not that people don't want to address their nutritional issues, but that change in behaviors and patterns and schedules, it's all a disruption that happens during this time. It happens as well for some businesses at the end of the year when the holidays start coming around and the new year and kids are home and they're off school, especially if you have clients who have kids, that has the same kind of shift and change there as well. What matters here the most is that you be aware that there could be this shift that's going on and that you pay attention to what's driving the shift in your business and how you're going to respond to it. Now, one thing that I do think that people need to talk about and think about is that even if the demand might still be there, it's the routines that are not, and it's the routines that are changing everything. So when school is out and summer schedules hit, people's habits break. Even clients who love working with you may forget to rebook. They might delay, they might reschedule. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's just what happens sometimes to people when daily life changes. So here's the problem that happens when those habits and changes occur with people and they start scaling back what they're doing. The clients get quiet. But if you are getting quiet as well, your routines are also changing. Thing you have to remember as a business owner, as a practice owner, is that there are some things that you cannot let go, because if you do, then that helps you also stay quiet and not speak and remind those clients that you're there. The biggest issue when it comes to all of this summertime slowdown talk is that if you're making the assumption that clients aren't booking and you stop showing up too, because you're assuming the clients aren't looking to book too, that assumption becomes your strategy for the summer. By pulling back, you're not planning ahead. That approach is typically the one that is going to backfire, because the clients who would rebook and get going again are not hearing from you. The people who need your help, if people forget about you, it's very easy to forget about rebooking with you when September hits again. And then when you see the slowdown not changing, that's when you're scrambling to rebuild because you weren't doing anything during the summer except pulling back and taking your own time to slow down as well. That's really why I'm so glad you're listening in today, because the fact is the summertime slowdown might be real for your business. How you respond is going to determine what will happen in the fall in particular. And I'd really rather have you making smart decisions now before the summer hits hard instead of playing catch up later, because that is never a fun time when you realize, oh crap, I should have been doing at least a little bit of marketing during the summer because now I don't have any leads at all. And that catch up never works. It's why I teach people what to do, even if they only had 1 hour a week for marketing. Because with 1 hour, you can still manage to successfully market your practice and keep that steady flow of leads and clients. If you want to learn a little more about that 1 hour a week marketing plan, you can check out episode 50 of the podcast, where I get a little more into detail on how and give you step by step on how it is really possible to do marketing for your practice or your business with just 1 hour a week. So some people aren't always sure they know if they're actually feeding the slowdown, as I call it. So one thing I always want to make sure you're doing is a self-check on what's happening with your practice or business. So as we get into late May, early June, and even into July, I want you to be thinking about, are people booking consults with you? I also want you to think about, have you been sending your newsletter on a regular basis, or at least even once in the last few weeks? Are you still making regular offers or calls to action to people when you're talking to them, whether it's networking, talking to referral partners, or talking to potential clients face to face or even online? And speaking of online, have you even posted any of your marketing content or done any marketing lately? And if you're getting any of those leads happening, are you following up with people who said, maybe not right now, let me think about it too? If you're pulling back and not doing a lot of these, even unintentionally, that is something that can contribute to the slowdown that you're feeling and make the slowdown even more real. And it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means there's a little bit of room for you to plan for a reset. If you do find that your calendar is looking a little light, I have a simple framework here for you today with 3 things that you can focus on when summer does feel slow, because I know it is going to for a lot of people. The idea with this summertime slowdown framework, I want you to remember the whole purpose is not to say that you have to get out there and work more hours during the summer, because maybe you want a break as well. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have other things that you want to do in the summertime, and that's great. It fits if your clients slow down as well. But there are still things I don't want you to forget about, and I don't want you to avoid during the summertime slowdown too. So the first part of this framework is to make sure you're reconnecting with your people. I want you to stay visible, and I don't mean that you need to double up your marketing effort. Honestly, it can be something as simple as sending a check-in email with clients. It could be resharing a past newsletter, article, or blog post because you don't want to spend time creating something new. At a minimum, I would love to see you do something at least once a month during the summertime season. Maybe you're a regular bi-weekly newsletter person and you do a newsletter and a blog every 2 weeks. So in the summertime, maybe slow down to doing that once a month. Some people that I know will go back and reshare a past news article or a blog post and just add a bit of an intro to it as well. That is enough sometimes. That is all you need to keeping yourself visible with current clients, with past clients, and with those leads, people who could become future clients. One of the things that you can do as well is make sure that you're still connecting with some of your referral partners and sources. This is a big area. I do often find that if everybody else is out of routine as well, those colleagues and referral partners may actually be in the same spot as you. So this is when you could be thinking about a unique way to connect with them. And maybe it's just simply a more ideal time for them to book that coffee with you and talk a little shop and connect, whether it's a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee. Sometimes those referral partners may have that slow down experience as well. So they would have more time to meet with you and connect and talk about what a referral is for each other and how you can support one another's business, especially if you're dealing with a complementary type of service that you each offer the similar client that you work with. One of the things that you can also do with this part one in this framework of focusing on the summertime slowdown is making sure that you're mentioning fall booking times and deadlines, if there are any. Remind clients you're still there to help them, especially when they're out of the routine that they're normally in. And now, the second part in this framework is to review and redo what you've been working on. And this can be simply that summertime and the slowdown season is a time for you to be able to do some of the work on your business that you're not always able to focus on when you have a full calendar. This could be a great time to be looking at your website content and looking at how the content is set up on your homepage and what is the booking flow that happens when people land there. This could be a time for you to look at your email marketing if you have a lead magnet and review those emails that go out. I'll tell you one thing right now. For me, rechecking those follow-up sequences for lead magnets, especially when you have more than one, is something that often gets forgotten. And it is a very important task because you want to make sure those email sequences are up to date and doing their job of nurturing people who downloaded that freebie that you had for them. It's another great time to look at your intake process and your client onboarding and make sure that you're doing the best that you can with that and think about ways to improve it or change it. It's often these tasks that get pushed aside when it is a busy time in our schedule. So summertime and that slowdown that might be happening could be your window to clean it up. Again, I'm not saying that you need to do all of this work and not take a break yourself. That's definitely important. We all need to have vacations and time away as business owners. But if you are slower, don't panic and start thinking, oh, I have to do everything that I can to get the clients in the door. Because the reality is, if their schedules have shifted and disrupted so much that they're probably not going to book with you at this point, and that's the reality of the type of service and industry you're working in, then use this time to plan and be even more ready when the fall hits and you get busy again. The summertime slowdown could be your window of opportunity to get it all cleaned up, to catch up, and to be all ready for the fall as well. And this is where the third part in this framework to focus your summertime slowdown time on, which is to realign and update your plans or your goals. This may be where you want to review what you had set for your goals. This is now, we're almost at the end of quarter two for the year. We're halfway through the year. Do you need to review or reassess some of your goals? And then you also want to look at, what do you want your September to look like? Do you want to be booking more one-on-ones? Do you want to promote a group program? Do you want to raise your prices? Do you want a better system for managing referral partners with some set touch points? Now is the time, if you have a slowdown, to do some of the work that needs to be done to get these new ideas and updates in place. The work you do in July is often the work that is going to create your results in September. It's not the other way around. You want to be ready and be prepared to take those calls and consult requests because you've kept up your marketing and your communication during the slow time. You've reviewed your goals. You've looked at what you want to have in place for your offers, and then you're doing the work to get it all ready for when that happens. So those are some of the things that you could look at doing to use the summer slowdown time to your advantage rather than just taking the time off during these next couple months. If it is slower, instead of just kind of wallowing in the slowdown and not doing anything about it, start thinking about the things that you can be doing. Because the reality is, summer slowdown is not a myth, but it's also not a rule. It can be real and it can be manageable. And in many cases, it's less about the season itself and more about how we're adjusting to the changing rhythms and routines. And not just the change for our clients, but for ourselves as well. So you can either treat summer slowdown time like a slump and just let it be and get down in the dumps about it, or you can treat it like a season to reset. And this is where you can look at reconnecting, reviewing, and realigning everything that you're doing so that you are ready for when it gets busy again. It's your choice how you deal with it. And even if that slowdown is real, there are ways to let that slowdown help you make room to grow. If you're not sure how you can put these 3 steps into play when you have a visibly slower season in the summer, or you're struggling to make the most of your quieter time, I'd love to help you out here. You can book a free marketing review with me. We'll look at what's working, what's not, and try to discover if the slowdown is really a reality for you, or is it something that you've just got happening because you feel it's going to happen, so you start slowing down as well. Then looking at what shifts you can make to start seeing traction now and in the fall again. You'll find a link to book a free marketing review with me in the show notes wherever you're listening in. I know that this can be a challenging time when things start to get slower. And, honestly, some of you could be listening and say, well, that's not my summertime, but it is my January time. This rule and these steps in the framework apply to really and truly any time that you might find you've got that slowdown happening. You just want to make sure that you're keeping up your visibility and using that slow time the best that you can so that you're prepping and ready for the busy times again. If you were thinking to yourself, okay, here it comes, June is here and the summer slowdown begins, and it's my time where I just don't feel like I'm making as much money as I could be because clients aren't booking, I want you to ask yourself, is that a reality or is it a convenient excuse to allow you to slow down as well? Again, it could be very true. And if it is, the idea is the steps in this framework will help you use that summertime slowdown to your best advantage possible to make sure that you are not forgetting about clients and making sure you're planning for a busy fall once again. And that's all I have for you today, folks. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off. And remember, to thrive in practice means being strategic about any summertime slowdown or slowdown of any kind in your business. And if it is happening for you, make sure that you're using this time and season to your advantage and do not let it slow down your practice growth as well. I'll see you next time.
You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.